Good morning and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. And as always, we're back to bring you another massive show this morning. But before we jump into that, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel and let's get straight on into it. So on the show this morning, we're going to be talking about Manchester United in for a midfield wonder kid who is being compared to Moises Caicedo. We'll be touching on that. We'll also be going through the Erik ten Hag press conference that came out at about 11 p.m. last night. As always, they embargo it. So there's one section that comes out around lunchtime, which we've already reacted to. And then there's a second section which comes out about 11 p.m, usually the day before the game. So we will be talking about that. There's some really interesting quotes from Erik ten Hag. As always, do get involved in the comment section. Do let me know how you're feeling about everything we discuss on today's show. And let's get straight on into it. So let's start out with this story about the midfield wonder kid then. So the guy's name is Oscar Zambrano. The story goes as follows. It says Manchester United are ready to fight with Barcelona and Juventus to sign 19-year-old LDU Quito midfielder Oscar Zambrano. So I've been doing a bit of research about this player. He is being compared to Moises Caicedo. He's 19 years of age. Very, very good player, midfielder. Obviously, he's from Ecuador as well, which is why the Moises Caicedo links have been so prominent. As I said, only 19 years of age. Somebody who is tipped to go on to be a very, very special player in the future. If anybody is, from that neck of part of the region, of the world, let me know if you've seen this guy play before. I haven't obviously watched him play football yet. I watched a couple of clips of him on YouTube. He's a relatively fast, defensive-minded midfielder. He's a CDM. He's got a relatively good weak foot, so he's good with both his left and his right foot. Only 19 years of age. Obviously, got his whole career ahead of him, but he definitely does look like a very similar mould to Moises Caicedo. And I can see why we're being linked to these types of people, because we definitely need to start bringing through some youth into our team. We definitely need to start, giving Kobe Mainoo some game time. Getting rid of people like McTominay, getting rid of people like Christian Eriksen probably next season. There's two or three of those slightly more, I wouldn't say McTominay's old yet, but 27, Eriksen's 31. I think both of them definitely need to go, probably for different reasons, to be fair. Eriksen, because I think he's a bit too old now and his legs have gone. And Scott McTominay just because he's simply not good enough. But yeah, these are the kind of profile of players that I would be looking at. Obviously, we missed out on Moises Caicedo the first time around. Apparently, Manchester United were on the brink of signing him before he went to Brighton, but the Glazers and the CEOs at the time said, no, we don't want them. We want more, the finished article products. And that's where we've gone wrong really over the years, isn't it? Bringing in these superstar names who some of them work, some of them don't work. Whack them all in a team together and hope it pays off, which it doesn't usually happen like that, to be honest. But yeah, let me know if anybody has seen much of this guy play football. Always interested to see what you guys have to say about these types of things. Yeah, so let me know. Only 19 years of age, so still very, very young. Right, let's touch on the quote from Erik ten Hag's press conference, because as I said, he was speaking last night. I think it came out about 11 p.m. I was asleep, so I didn't see it at the time. So Erik ten Hag was directly asked why his players were not running. So if you look at the stats from the first 5 or 6 games, just like last season, our players are running less than the opponents. Our players are, but we can see that just from a viewer's perspective without any stats. Scott McTominay doesn't seem to be running properly. Casemiro looks a bit sluggish. Rashford doesn't track back. We can see that our players aren't working as hard as the opposition. And that's why I think we've lost quite a few of these games, because we're simply just not working as hard as the opponent. And if, you play Manchester United and you think that you don't have to run, that's just a recipe for disaster. So Erik ten Hag was asked why the players were not running. And he said, no, I don't know why they're not running. When you're in a period like we're in, always as a manager, you're asking yourself these questions. My job is to get them to do the job, which I guess is a fair point. But it would definitely be a concern for him to be, watching his players be outrun by Brighton, outrun by Tottenham, outrun by Arsenal, outrun by Bayern Munich. Every single opponent that we've lost to this season have deserved to beat us. They've worked harder than us. And that's the fundamentals of the very, very basics of being a Manchester United player, is that you work harder than the opponents, and we're just clearly not doing that at the moment. And that's why I think we're losing so many games. But yeah, let me know what you think about that one. Let me know, do you think everybody's just tired from last season? Do you think there's more to it than what's being said? Do you think it was because of all the games we played? Is it because of the World Cup in the middle of the season? There's so many different things that you could think of. Erik ten Hag then goes on to say, you do it in groups, you do it in teams, you do it individually, you do it over video, you do it in personal talks. You have many tools to coach to make sure the team is in the right direction. So one of the people had questioned, what his managerial techniques were. He says, as a manager, I have many tools and I make sure I use them. I will not say all because there are many ways to do it. You have to be creative, you have to be innovative, but you can be sure I use many different ways. Okay. He then goes on to say, I am pushing the team and demanding from them from the start of the season, but they are human beings, they are not robots. So when they aren't doing it, I try to find out, to get and give solutions, and also try to motivate the players to do the job. So obviously we have got game day today, so we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see whether these players do react to Erik ten Hag's motivation. And it only becomes a problem, I think, for Manchester United and the fans if you can see that the players aren't playing for the manager. That's the issue. We need to see a reaction tonight against Burnley. We need to go out there and absolutely batter them, to be honest. That needs to happen. We haven't had a convincing game this season. Tonight has to be that convincing game. Go away. Obviously, our away record is terrible as well. We need to go there. We need to win. There's no other way of looking at it. It has to be a win. A draw isn't good enough. Obviously, a loss will be a disaster. And let's hope that whatever Erik ten Hag's been doing over the course of this week and since the game in Munich, that he's managed to motivate these players, because that's all that we can ask for as a very, very bare minimum from our manager. If he can't motivate the players, then obviously questions will start being asked. He says, I am pushing the team and demanding from them from the start of the season, but they are human beings. They're not robots. We've already read that one. Okay. He also says, Erik ten Hag on defending as a team and on work rate. He says, we have shown that we can do it because last year we had the most clean sheets in the Premier League because of the team, because how we defended. So we have to get back to that standards. And I agree with that. It is a bit of a concern that this season our defence has been so poor. I don't really understand how last season we could, do so well defensively, and then this season we've just been all over the place. Is it because of De Gea going? I don't think so, because as much as I like David De Gea, there was a stat that came out a couple of days ago, and it said that in David De Gea's first 5 games of last season, he only faced 10 shots on target, right? Onana in his first 5 games had faced nearly 30 shots. So obviously it's not Onana's fault that he's facing shots. It's the people in front of him who are not, stopping the ball from being kicked at him ultimately. So I don't think we can just say, oh, well, if David De Gea was here, we wouldn't have conceded as many goals, because Onana's had 3 times the amount of shots at him than what David De Gea had. I don't know what it is. Is it because Varane's been injured? Is it because Luke Shaw's been injured? I mean, our defence has been all over the place by way of, Martinez was out for a bit, then Varane was out for a bit, then Luke Shaw's out, now Wan-Bissaka's out. Those starting defensive partnership from last season hasn't really played together. Maybe one game against Wolves, first game of the season. And then after that, it's just been all over the place. So I don't know. Maybe it is because of that. Obviously, our defence at the moment is what? Reguilon, who's a lone left back from Spurs. We've got Martinez and Lindelof, who did play a couple of times together last season and looked all right, but haven't been great this season. And then you've got Diogo Dalot at right back, who didn't really play that much last year. So it is a bit of a makeshift defence. Let me know what you guys think, though. What do you think the reasons are for our defence being so poor this season? Is it simply just because the other teams are better than us? Is it because they've improved and we've not? Is it because we were lucky last season? I'm not sure what the answer is, but let me know what you guys think. Let me know whether you think this is something to be concerned about. Obviously, we've conceded, I think, now 16 goals in the last 5 matches, over 3 goals on average per game, which is obviously completely unacceptable. Erik ten Hag is then asked again about the running, and he says, against Spurs, we didn't run too much. We had a game last season where we did the same, where we didn't run. But I think against Bayern, we did our best from physical outputs, but I think we didn't always run in the right moment. Yeah, I would agree that there was plenty of players in that game against Bayern Munich who weren't running. They weren't putting in 110%. And as I keep saying, that is literally the bare minimum you expect from a Manchester United player, is that they put in effort, they try, they look like they care. He then goes on to talk again about the Bayern Munich game. He says, so it's also about recognising the original situation than it is about they didn't recognise. Some of the stuff that Erik ten Hag says, I don't really understand. He says, so it's also about recognising the original situation, and then is it about, didn't they recognise it? So they didn't scan it, didn't they make the right decisions, or is it about willingness? So is he questioning the player's mentality there, saying, is it about willingness to run? Maybe. He then talks about the lack of intensity and running against Bayern. He says it's always a concern when we didn't run, but I think against Bayern it was not the case, but in certain situations, yes. So he is admitting that in some of the games in some of the games this season, the players haven't been running, and I completely agree with that. They haven't. We can all see that. McTominay's, Rashford's. There's plenty of players who have just been very lazy, But yeah, let me know what you think. What needs to happen in order to get us moving forward? Let me know what your thoughts are. For me, I don't know. We just need to go and win the game tonight. That's the most important thing for me at this point. I know that sounds a little bit obvious, but I just think that winning games is the fundamentals of a good season, isn't it? Because that's what we're here to do. If we don't win tonight, it's obviously going to be absolute carnage. We need to make sure we go and get this win tonight. Everybody who's just joined in the last couple of minutes, please do smash a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. We're 20 subscribers away from 19,100, so please do go and subscribe. It doesn't cost any money. Let's see if we can hit that by the end of the video. There's a little bit about Rasmus Højlund that's come out today as well. This is from The Athletic. They're saying that Erik ten Hag really admired Højlund's ability to make repeat runs, press and go direct. Conversations also convinced him of Højlund's strong character. His personality was one of the key reasons Ten Hag pushed to sign him. And I can see that. I think Rasmus Højlund has the right personality. He definitely has the right fit. He's definitely the right fit for Manchester United. And I'm so happy he got his first goal against Bayern. And let's hope that he gets some more goals tonight, because I want to see him start picking up some form now. I want him to get that 15 goals that I predicted he'll get this season. It goes on to say that during some downtime at Manchester United's base in San Diego, Garnacho discussed with teammates how he wanted the club to sign a forward who could attack crosses in the box. Okay? And then there's a little bit of a stat here as well, which I quite like. This is about Mason Mount. It says, playing on the right wing, Mason Mount has been directly involved in 0.77 goals per game, the best record versus any position he has played in his career. So that's over his whole career, that every time he's played in the right wing, his goal contribution has been 0.77 goals, which is good. It's nearly a goal a game that he's contributed directly, Mason Mount, as a right winger. So let's hope that Mason Mount is back. We're not sure whether he got on the bus for the game today. Obviously, Erik ten Hag did confirm that Mason Mount, Sofyan Amrabat, Raphael Varane were all training yesterday. Whether or not they'll be in the matchday squad, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, if there's any chance of getting them in that squad, I want to see Varane and Martinez. I want to see Amrabat and Casemiro, and I want to see Mason Mount out on that right wing. That needs to happen. There's absolutely no excuses. Ginge says they're not tired, they're lazy. That's the worry, isn't it? That is the worry. And, when you give these players, who a lot of them are very average, these ridiculous contracts, you make them feel like they're superstars, even though most of them, hadn't won a trophy for 5 years before last season. No wonder they're lazy. They've got nothing to play for. They've got nothing to motivate themselves. None of them are winners, apart from maybe Casemiro. None of them are really winners, are they? Let's be honest. None of them know what it means to win trophies. So I can see why they're lazy. It's kind of obvious, isn't it? But let me know what you think the reasons are for the lack of motivation. Alan says Garnacho to start right wing today. I'd be happy with that. I'd be very happy with that. If it was Garnacho on the right, Rashford on the left, and Rasmus Højlund down the middle, I would be happy with that. I would. I don't want to see Bruno Fernandes out on that right wing. It doesn't work. It's a waste of his talents. I don't want to see Eriksen in that midfield. We need to see Sofyan Amrabat. Tom says the defence is too deep and the 8s are too high. The team are not compact enough, which is mostly down to Erik ten Hag and the shoehorning of Onana into the team for his passing. It's the trade-off with Onana. Yeah, I do understand what you're saying there, mate, because there is a massive gap at the moment between our defence and our attack. The midfielders seem to be kept being dragged out of positions, and then it just makes it so easy for us to be played through. Lumen says, Kieran, imagine what would have happened if it was Fred doing that Baywatch run instead of McTominay. Yeah, he would have been absolutely got pelters, wouldn't he? Anthony says we should play Garnacho with Højlund, as Garnacho can cross in the box. Yeah, I think we will see a front three of Rashford, Rasmus Højlund and Garnacho, I think. Obviously, if Mason Mount's back, then put him in the team. I think that would be the most sensible option. We've just spent £60 million on him. And as I just said, his stats are actually the best in the right wing position. So if he's available, play him. But we're not sure whether he 100% is yet. And we know that Erik ten Hag doesn't rush people back from fitness, does he? If he's a little bit on the injured side, I'm sure he won't play. Ruben says we need to cross balls and feed Højlund as he is running. You know what it's like though being a Manchester United player, don't you? They're playing the graveyard shift. We desperately need people to actually start putting balls into the box. We need people to actually be giving Rasmus Højlund opportunities. There's no point bringing in this striker who literally doesn't get any opportunities and just stood there doing nothing. It's a waste, isn't it? Daz says the writing was on the wall when Maguire and McTominay stayed. Yeah, I mean, we can't blame it all on Maguire and McTominay. That's a little bit harsh, but I get your point. I think you more mean from a mentality perspective. When you keep players like McTominay, Donny van de Beek, Harry Maguire, etc., when you keep these people in and around Manchester United who clearly aren't wanted by the club, it does create a negative environment, and that money they should have been let go of, and they should have been, use that money to reinvest in people who would actually fit into the system and have the right mentality. What have we got? Somebody says, will Garnacho be comfortable on the right wing? I'm not sure. I've never seen Garnacho on the right wing. Obviously, you could have Rashford on the right wing. That could work quite nicely. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But let me know what your score predictions are for the game tonight. Also, let me know what your predicted lineups are as well. I'd love to see what you guys have to say. So get involved in the live chat and the comments section. I will read out a couple more of your questions as well before we crack on with the rest of the show. Somebody says, if we get Qatar, the players will be inspired. They'll have to fight for their place. But with the Glazers, they can do what they want, and Ten Hag can't get rid of them. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a fair point, because they know that if we get new owners in with a lot of money, right, then they can just get rid of them, can't they? So they will be playing for their job, Yeah, they will be playing for their jobs. Whereas at the moment, they're playing for nothing, in my opinion. They're just kind of, yeah, I don't know. Let's see what else we have planned for this morning's show. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter one this morning, because obviously we will be live for the game tonight. Mark says, we weren't ruthless enough in the transfer window. What do people expect this season? With the same average players at the club and crap signings made, fans thought we'd win the Premier League title. Wake up, people. I agree with you, to be honest. I do. I think our summer window, I think I gave it a 4 out of 10. Like, we got a couple of good signings in. I mean, I say that. I mean, Onana was one of the ones I considered as a good signing, and he's not been great so far. Rasmus Højlund's a good signing, definitely. Sofian Amrabat, well, I say he's a good signing. He's not even played football yet, so it's pretty hard to judge Sofian Amrabat. I think Reguilon's looking like one of our best signings of the summer, and people were literally furious about that. People were saying we're a joke of a club, all the rest of it. I think Reguilon genuinely has hit the ground running out of every single signing we've made, without a shadow of a doubt. He's done more than Mason Mount, more than Onana. Maybe on par with Rasmus Højlund. But yeah, I'd say that Reguilon's our best signing of the summer so far. Let me know in the comments section, guys. Who is the signing of the summer so far for you at Manchester United? Let me know what your thoughts are. Ishmael says Rashi just needs to cross the ball. Yeah, 100%. Tom says Martinez, Rashford and Bruno need to be shown that they are droppable. And he ought to say it in the press conferences, not rested but dropped. Yeah, I agree, mate. I do. I think all these players need to know that they're not untouchable. But I think that for some reason Bruno and Rashford are undroppable. I don't know why, but they are. I don't think they've ever been dropped, have they? The only time Rashford was dropped was when he was late for a team meeting. Was it last season against Wolves? He was apparently 5 minutes late for a team meeting and Erik ten Hag dropped him. But that was the only time. So I guess what we have to, assume off that is that they train well, they have the right mentality, they have the right attitude, they don't complain. They must be doing something right on the training pitch, which enables them to be picked every single game. That must be simply what it is, because we know that Erik ten Hag, values discipline. He values putting in 110% even on the training pitch every single day. And we just have to assume that Bruno and Rashford do that every single day. Otherwise, I'm sure he would drop him. I don't think he singles people out. From all the clips we've seen of Sancho training, he doesn't look like he looks like he's there just to have a bit of fun, not to actually be serious. Malp says Reguilon has been fantastic. Lumen says Højlund's my favourite so far. Cobra says we should drop Martinez and bring in Varane with a crying face. Yeah. Peter says Reguilon has been the standout alongside Rasmus Højlund. Yep, I agree. What else are people saying? Irvin says, before we call out Rashford again, I'm wondering if he will act like a team player with lots of passing or back to being selfish as usual. Well, look, the thing is, right, we've got a game today. That's the most important thing. This is our opportunity to change the tides and to go out there and to try and kickstart our season, because we desperately need it. We really, really do. Peter says United will beat Burnley tonight. I hope so. Luma says, Kieran, does Erik ten Hag have the balls to start Hannibal? I mean, I genuinely would rather start Hannibal over Eriksen or McTominay, without a shadow of a doubt. No, there's no doubt in my mind. You can tell that he's got the right attitude. He's got the legs. He's got the mentality. He wants to prove himself. He wants to do well. Eriksen is a good player, but he isn't good in that number 6 role because he doesn't have the engine to be able to run back and forwards constantly throughout a whole game. Scott McTominay has the engine to do that, but for some reason must be in the same mindset as Harry Maguire now, that he doesn't need to prove himself. He's probably telling himself, I'm the leading goal scorer in the Euro qualifier. You know what I mean? He's probably just thinks he's better than he is. Yeah, let's just hope that today things change. We go out there, we put in a good result, and we come back at the end of today and we think, right, this is the start of the season. I think after this game, we've got Crystal Palace, I think it is. We've got, I don't want to say winnable games because any game is difficult in the Premier League, but we've got a couple of games which I would expect to win, let's say. And I mean, you should never really expect to win anything being a Manchester United fan. So we've got Burnley tonight, and then we've got Crystal Palace in the League Cup at home on Tuesday, so very soon. And then straight after that, we play Crystal Palace on Saturday at home as well in the Premier League. And then we've got Galatasaray at home in the Champions League, and then we've got Brentford. So those 4 games, right? That's where we need to pick up our winning streak. We've got to beat Crystal Palace at home, beat them again in the Premier League, beat Galatasaray, and then beat Brentford. We have to win all 4 of those games, and we have to win tonight. But I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. It was just a short one this morning, as we will be live quite a lot today. Please do make sure to smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel if you are new. This has been Daily Red Devil. I've been Kieran, and I'll catch you all later.